Hi there, I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. If you're feeling drained, hesitant, stuck in self-doubt, or you just have a case of the vlogs, the Art of Badassery podcast is here to help you unleash your mojo once and for all. We'll provide you with tips, techniques, and real-life examples of how you can kick ass in all areas of your life. You'll learn how to flex your mental muscles, rise above fears, and turn setbacks into superpowers. So let's enter the dojo and let's get to work. Welcome everyone to the Art of Badassery podcast. I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. And today I have a really fun podcast episode for you, a very fun interview with Andrea Parker and Mel Mills. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I love that you called yourself that, because in my Instagram bio, it says Chief Fun Officer.
Yes.
Oh, you need a mug.
I know, I need a mug.
Yes, you do. Okay, let me just read off a little bit of your backgrounds. Andrea Parker, if you're watching on YouTube, the one with the hat on. Andrea Parker, former police detective and conscious leadership coach, and her wife, Mel Mills, former professional hockey player and chief fun officer, are the dynamic duo behind FunX and the WTF, Where's the Fun podcast. I love that. Together, they help heart-centered leaders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs, and really anyone, unlock more impact, more wealth, more joy, and more magic, all while having more fun than ever before. With decades of experience in leadership, business ownership, and coaching, Andrea and Mel guide their clients to redefine success and create a new paradigm where they can make a lasting, fulfilling impact while nurturing their well-being and having a blast along the way. Ladies, I want in. Sign me up. More fun. I just want to read one more line before we dig in, which is, we believe that the more leaders prioritize fun in their businesses, the more we raise our vibration and elevate our collective consciousness, becoming beacons of play, joy, and light in the world. And amen to that, because I'm all about talking about vibration and frequency, especially on this podcast. So that just sung to me. Welcome.
I love it. And I feel like that's the essence of really, if we're really that's the energy, that's the frequency of fun we want to play in.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more of why you both think fun is so important that you would actually create not just a podcast, but a whole business and mission around it.
There was a time when we weren't having fun.
Yeah.
And I'm sure anyone can relate. When you're not having fun, you're vibrating very low.
Yes.
And then that's getting put out into everything. So one summer, was it when we moved here?
I think at its core, we've always, if we're really going to go for it, it's like we want a life worth living. It's always been our thing. It's let's go for it.
A life worth living.
And if we're going to do that, what is the point of doing all of that if we're not having fun? And our moment of figuring that out was June 2022.
Yeah.
And I had transitioned our career. Mel had left her career. Like, we've done all of this work personally, professionally. We followed our hearts, created our dream life. And I'm sitting in my office and I still feel tired and I'm frustrated and I'm judging myself and I'm not as far as ahead as I think I should be.
Oh, I know that feeling.
And then I get up and I go and find Mel, and she's in her living room and she's doing the same thing as me. She's sitting on her computer, and basically I looked at her and I'm like, what is the point of creating our dream life? Like, we moved to the lake and doing all these things
In Muskoka,
which is just north of Toronto.
Okay.
Like, we have this beautiful house, this beautiful life, and yet we weren't having fun. So it was like, why are we doing this if we're not truly enjoying our experience? And that to me was, I think that was our line in the sand. It was like, we need to enjoy our experience. And then as a leader, if you're enjoying your experience, I truly do believe that's where the magic happens. So that was our big revelation of, we needed to change our approach to literally everything in order to make that the priority.
Why were you not having fun? What was like hard? What were you going through?
It was almost like whatever, like Annie left policing where she was a detective And it was like she just brought the same habits into entrepreneurship, right? And it was the same thing. We hadn't changed. We just changed our environment, but we hadn't changed.
There was rigidness, and then you welcomed in more flow or flexibility.
It's going to sound simple, maybe, but we started to say, we believe that your life is, if you ask a quality question, you're going to get a quality answer. And we kept asking, what's missing, or why is this not fun? So we're like, let's switch the question. And we started to ask, what would make this more fun?
What would make this more fun?
Am I allowing myself to have fun?
So then we literally just played in that energy. We're like, what would make this more fun? So instead of sitting at our desk, which for me is not that much fun, we're like, and we started with simple things like we went for a hike, or on a Wednesday when we should be working,
or out for a paddle board during the middle of the day.
And then what we noticed is that this was I think our big shift was one of the things that was coming through was we were so much in our head that we weren't actually connected with our heart, our intuition, what we really wanted. Yes. And one of the things that our heart said, and we're like, what would make this more fun, was to take the entire summer off.
Wow.
Which was scary.
Yes.
Like, who the hell does that when they're trying to grow a business? Right? Like, it's just stupid.
But we did it anyways. So we're like, let's clear our calendar. Let's basically commit. And I think that was like, we weren't just 1 foot in and 1 foot out. We're like, we're all in on this. So we did. We totally committed to it. And what we found is when we actually listened to it, even though it made no sense, we started to shift our vibration. We shifted our energy. We started to play. And then we were no longer in our head. We were no longer in fear. And then I think the magic happened because we started to get in our truest energy. And then leaders, our dream clients who we really wanted to work with, they started to notice that we were having fun. And they're like, how are you doing this? Can I work with you? And then our business started to organically grow. We realigned our whole strategy around the business, and we actually had made more money than if we'd been sitting there pushing and forcing and doing all of the things.
Okay, so that kind of thing just blows my mind because I really believe in it. That we're all energy and vibration and frequency, and you're raising your energetic field, the frequency and vibration of your energetic field, and now people are being attracted to you because of that. Not because of the hours you sat at your desk and how many emails you sent out and how many social media posts you did. That's how I used to measure my success and productivity as well. I'm still working this out, but trying to do that dance of more fun, more flow. And also I have to do these tasks. Do you still find that you can balance those? Because you can't take off every summer, obviously, or you can't always be off. Having fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you balance?
And I think that's important because there's a difference between what your heart's calling you to do and what maybe our fears, our egos, our heads calling us to do. And it just so happened in that summer, our heart was saying, take the summer off. But then there's been times our heart's been like, you need to get your butt into gear and you're not taking enough action. So I think the line is, are you doing it from inspiration? Are you doing it from pushing? Or what's the energy behind what you're doing?
I want to actually write a whole chapter on it, force versus flow, in my upcoming book that I'm working on now. So I love this topic, but I just had a question because I'm like, but there's two of you. So there's two hearts. How do you know which part to listen to?
We're pretty aligned.
It's actually funny because we used to we had a coach for, 7 years, and we did a lot of the subconscious work. And for most people, she's like, I would not coach you together, but she coached us together because a lot of our blocks were the same, but a lot of our intentions were the same.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's true for everybody, but for us, which has its benefits, but it also has its drawbacks because when we both have the same block, it's like, now we're fucked because we really need to get out of both of our ways. Right. But when our hearts are both into something, I think it's extra powerful.
Yeah.
Double the pain, double the pleasure.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. You said the word intention, which just reminded me of a story I just actually told on your podcast. Thanks for having me on. It's all about fun, and I came to it the same reason as you. I went through a lot of years of not having fun. Starting in 2016, my father passed away. Then I went through all these different losses and grieving processes, miscarriages, this, that. And then the pandemic, loss and grief of all the gigs that went away. It was just like 4 to 5 years of being so heavy in this heavy energy. So when my word of the year to pick in 2022, I was like, fun. I need more fun in my life. So that's why when I heard about you guys, I was like, I need to have them on and talk about this because it's so important. It completely lightened my energy that year. I went to concerts. I went hiking in the Dolomites. These things happened almost like magically. The right people, the right opportunities just showed up because my intention was fun. I was lighter. I felt more positive. My husband loses a job. I'm not as triggered and as upset as I normally probably would be. Having fun as like a beacon and a mission for the year really changed, I think, who I was because I can only build on that, right? Going forward. So it was just something I really just want to remind everyone who's listening is check in right now. Like, how much fun are you having in your life?
Yeah.
And how do you define fun? How do you guys define fun?
Exactly.
I think what was fun for me in my 20s is not so fun in my late 30s.
Yeah.
I like a good quality night's sleep. I like eating healthier.
Yes.
I love socializing. It
Mhm.
fills my cup up. We live on the lake with everyone and they always want to hang out.
That sounds
To me-
fun. Can I come?
Yeah, exactly.
You would love it.
And going to hockey on Wednesday nights fills my cup up. These are like social things are the funnest things for me.
Yeah.
Where Andy is a bit different.
And it's funny because I would say like typically I'm actually more of a playful person than Mel. Mel
Yeah.
is like chief fun officer, but I think I'm more the play. Like
Okay.
even as a kid, I loved playing. Like I share this in one of my keynotes. Like one of my favorite things to do is I would grab my toboggan and I would bring it up the hill and then I'd ride all the way down. I didn't care. I'm like, I love to play.
Okay,
And-
hold on. Sorry, this New Yorker. What is a toboggan? A sled.
You need to come
Like a
visit.
sled. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you get on a sled and you go down the hill in the
Okay.
winter. And so we have a sled outside of our house now and a hill right outside. So when I go for a walk, I'll bring the sled with us and
Nice.
we'll go down the hill. And I love to play.
Mm,
And for the longest time, I lost my connection with what is fun for me.
right.
So I think that's a very common question. Like, how do you
Yeah.
figure that out?
And this question is for Andrea specifically. How did you go from a detective to a leadership coach? How did that happen? My dad, I shared with you, was in the
Yeah.
NYPD, and he went from that to real estate, just needed to get away from that. What he described was like there was too much negativity. How about you?
Yeah, I think I knew like from the first day I got hired and we did police college and you go and you meet with all the other recruits. There's like hundreds of people there and you're in this auditorium. And I remember being like, oh shit, I made a mistake. This is not for me. I don't like conflict. I don't like shift work. There's a lot of things happening. I don't like negativity. I like joy. So I'm
Yeah,
like, what?
looking back.
I'm like, what am I doing? And
How long did you stay?
like 10 years.
Wow.
Because I knew, and I'm actually very grateful that I knew right from the get-go because basically our soul mission became, how do we get me out of here?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I really learned how to play the game well. I skipped a pay grade. So basically I skipped a whole class for policing, which usually takes a year. They bumped me ahead because I learned paperwork. I learned all the things that nobody else wanted to do. So then I would go on the calls that nobody else wanted to do, which was typically more, I would say, the emotional calls for people. And I would connect with them and I'd make them feel safe and I'd make them feel seen and heard. And I'm very non-judgmental. I treated humans as humans. And
That's why you were a good police officer.
I think that led me to getting off the road quickly too, because it was not for me. I don't like adrenaline. So then I went into what is the role where I could have the most amount of impact, the least amount of conflict, and still have some fun. So that was youth. So I'm like, I'm going to go in the schools, I'm going to talk to the youth. And then that led me to becoming the detective for youth. And what I had found through that is I started to just almost become principals would come to me almost like as if I'm their therapist.
Uh-huh.
And then families would come to me and people would tell me like their deepest, darkest secrets in like 30 seconds because they trusted me. And it was from there, it was like probably how your dad, it was so negative that at a certain point I was like, I love helping people, but this is so not the way I want to help people.
Yeah.
So then it was basically in pursuit of me trying to free myself from policing that I got a coach and connected more with my heart. And then there was something in there that I was like, you know what? I feel like I've always loved performance. I've always loved potential. Like I love learning. So I went down this route of she took me under her wing. I had some really, I would say the OG mentors in human behavior, spiritual science, subconscious mind. They just fell in my lap, like divinely guided. So I just started training with them. And I honestly feel like it was more of a path than me choosing it.
Yeah. Wow. You said so many amazing nuggets in there that I want to dig in. Anyone out there listening, I think some of the good takeaways here are if you don't feel in alignment with your current role, but doing something completely different that would really light your soul on fire might feel like eons away,
Yeah.
just like financially or whatever those things are. What in the meantime can you do to get closer to that feeling of fun or
Yeah.
again, soul filling? And you pivoted, you stayed in the same career, but you pivoted in role and how you could more fully be fully self-expressed as a police officer, which I think is so cool.
And actually, as you're saying this, I think it's important to have connection with what is the feeling of what you want. I say I was a police detective and basically I was on the road as like on patrol and I had no idea how I was going to get off there. Like usually you have to be on the road for 5 years. I was only on there for 3 years, but I kept connecting with what is the feeling of what I want. I remember one day I wrote out, I'm like, I want to work with youth. I want it to be Monday to Friday, 7 to 3. I just wrote that out. I didn't know what that even meant.
Right.
And then I kept following the nudge. And it does take courage because there's a lot of like politics and there's a lot of shoulds and there's a lot of fear. I remember when I was even in the policing for the schools, I was like, now what I actually want is I want to work Monday to Thursday. And then I like basically made up this thing that I wanted and it didn't exist. And then one of my supervisors came to me and he said, if you could do anything, what would you want it to be? And I'm like, this. And he's like, okay. And they basically made up that role for me.
Wow.
So I think part of it is, yes, get clear, but also still do a good job. And I didn't enjoy it, but I found the gratitude in it and I did my best. And because I did my best, it increased my self-worth. And then that led to opportunities that if I wasn't doing my best, they never would have gave me those opportunities.
Not listlessness. It's
Our mentor at the time
Yeah.
would always say, don't leave it until you love it. And that really stuck with us. And don't leave if you don't have gratitude for it, like true heart-centered gratitude, because what's going to happen is the shitstorm that you're in, if you leave it out of resentment, you're just going to recreate that shitstorm somewhere else.
I really do believe that energetically.
Yeah.
But how do you tell someone who's like in a toxic situation with a toxic
Well, that
boss?
was me. She needed to rein me in. Like I went in there being like, I'm quitting today. And she's reined me in.
Really?
And it was really hard. And I think it was honestly mastery level because it was toxic. And I was terrified that it wasn't even just, I felt like my soul was dying.
Awful. That's an awful feeling.
But looking back now, I'm as challenging as it was, I'm so grateful that I didn't give up and I went through it. And what I mean by that is what I learned by going through it, like actually working on, okay, how can I find gratitude for it? I did a shit ton of inner work on it. How can I learn the lessons? And then eventually I got to the point where I remember I said to Mel, I'm like, okay, because for 5 years, I'm like, I'm leaving now. I'm leaving now. And I refused to listen to my coach to be like, find the love. And I'm like, I'm trying to, and this is fucking hard. And like, you don't understand. So I get it. So if somebody feels like that, I completely understand with every cell of my being. And I also got to the point where I was like, you know what? I surrendered to the point where I'm okay doing this for 2 more years. And what I decided to do was to enjoy it.
Mm.
I hadn't allowed myself to enjoy it. I was taking myself too serious. I was putting so much pressure on myself. I was always trying to get ahead. It was not fun. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. 2 months later, I quit because I learned the lesson.
The key word I'm just going to point out, you said, is surrender.
Yes.
Talked about a lot in spiritual conversations, spiritual communities, and it could sometimes feel like the opposite of what we want to do. We want to fight back and fight the man
Totally.
and fight the power and all of that stuff. But in essence, it's almost the same thing, but you're surrendering to it, and it's not a fight. It's not a struggle.
And I actually started to, I don't want to say enjoy it, but I showed up and I wasn't a ball of stress anymore. I was more loose. I was more myself.
Yeah.
I gave myself more permission to, in the past, I would probably sit by myself and I didn't engage in conversations and I felt like I had to be working all the time. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do my best and actually be okay being here,
Yeah.
even if it was challenging. And then I remember it was probably 2-3 months later, I went in and it was something silly. And it was like, they changed my lunch. And I remember being like, you know what? It's time for me to go. Like it more so felt like
Yeah.
a shift in, it wasn't about, I'm leaving. It was actually, oh shit, it's time for me to leave.
Yeah.
And then I actually just happened to have, we both did our coach. We had a call with her that night and I shared with her. And I was like, now I don't want to go because now I'm terrified of having to leave because this isn't part of my 2-year plan. So then with like a whole nother level of courage to be like, now you've been saying you wanted this. Now it's actually time to.
It's funny how like when you're in partnership too, it's like you have shared energies, right?
Mhm.
And for the longest time, I was in a lot of fear of her leaving.
Yeah.
And I was, no, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Like, we'll figure it out. And then when she came home and said that, my thought process was like, yeah, I was very calm. And I was like, you have to leave because it's the feeling, it rushed over me. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you stay, something bad is about to happen to you.
Wow.
It was, I'll never forget it. And then 2 months later, the pandemic hit.
And that would have been bad being in that.
She would have had to go back onto the road, back into shift work, back into uniform. It just would have been horrible.
I wouldn't have been able to commute my pension.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would have
Prolonged this even longer, this soul
Yeah.
sucking energy.
Yeah.
Intuition, another great topic. Thank you, Mel. So important. I just want to also point out, you said you felt it, a wave wash over you. So you felt in your body. And both of you actually have used the word feeling a lot. I really do believe that feeling is how we create. Feeling is how we intuit. It's the magic sauce. Because there's mindset, which is great. And for years I was all about mindset, and then it's, oh, but there's this feeling. And if I'm not feeling it, if I'm saying all the right things, but I'm not feeling those feelings, then it's just, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Just wanted to, again, hammer that in, because if you're listening and you're just like, don't know what to do in your life, you're in a position that's not fun, listen to your body. Do you have a framework for more fun? There's just some practical takeaways we can leave folks with, just how to have more fun and identify what their fun is in the first place?
I would say high level framework is slow down.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest point. And that could mean many things to many people, but the biggest is slow down, because if your nervous system is stressed, you can't actually access your intuition. You can't access your heart. So slow down. And typically, like, what calms my nervous system might not be what calms someone else's. So it could be having a bath. It could be as simple as going for a walk, a hike. Maybe you actually get some support with that, like something about slowing down, stepping away. And that's why we do the Fun Experience Mastermind. Is on the first day, we're always like, okay, let's slow down. Let's actually get out of our normal day to day. And then
hang on, sorry. So you have a mastermind?
Yes.
It is a peer-to-peer mastermind for entrepreneurs and CEOs. And yeah, trying to get an entrepreneur to step away from their business or a CEO to step away from work is one of the hardest things to do.
Yep.
But the whole goal is we step away, calm that nervous system down, because that's when you are going to get the downloads, the hits. That's when you can actually fully connect with yourself and others.
Right.
So we get them just to calm down. We infuse play into it. We do peer-to-peer masterminding in it. So we do a 3-day in-person in beautiful Muskoka. And then we go into 4.5 months of peer-to-peer masterminding, working, pouring into each other. And then we end with a lake celebration at our house on the dock.
That sounds lovely. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first step is we got to slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah.
The second one is then we need to like actually reconnect. What is it that's most important to you? Not from the head, like I want this. Like we had someone come to one of her workshops and she's actually a client. I'm hitting the million this year. That is what it is. And then we actually went through but what's actually important to you? And she's like, oh, what's actually important to me is I actually want to spend more time with my husband. I want to travel more. I want to have more peace and ease in my life. It's okay, great. So you're doing the head goal and you're forgetting the things that are actually most important to you.
So the value underneath the goals.
Yes. So getting clear on what is important to you.
Right.
And then prioritizing your joy, your fun. You're taking this and you're putting attention now towards the things that actually matter to you. So she did that and she's okay, this is where it feels like crazy backwards land because it feels like you should be pushing more and doing more. But actually, if what's most important is more ease and peace, probably launching less, doing more of the things that bring you joy. And then as a byproduct of that, you start to feel more enthusiastic, you're more energized. That's when you become magnetic. So
yes, I had just a tiny example. Yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment and then met a friend, fellow speaker for lunch. And we're looking around this cafe in Santa Monica and we're like, how is no one working right now? It was like full at 11 o'clock. So those thoughts start to creep in. We should be working. What are we doing? All these people, look at all these people not working. And yet the conversation totally filled us both as I'm sitting there. After I finally look at my phone, I had a deposit for my Italy retreat come in.
yes.
I had an old friend text me that she just referred me to some women's network for a speaking thing. It was like, boom, 3 amazing things happened as I'm just sitting there living my life, having fun. It was so great.
And I think that's important because it's that shift from, you can call it a head goal to the heart, but it could also be you're a vibrational match for it. Abundance and joy, and you're open. You're not restricting anything. I think that's probably my biggest lesson, and I'm still working on it because it goes against everything that we've been conditioned to do. And also, I think we know it, but there's a difference between saying you're going to do these things and saying you're going to have fun. This is the thing that brings me joy. I'm going to go do it. And actually allowing yourself to have fun.
And I just want to share that year of fun, I had to get really specific about things that brought me joy. And so instead of just saying like more travel, I said, where? If there were no restrictions on this, where would I travel to? I'm like, Italy. And where in Italy? What would you be doing in Italy, Jen? And I really like to be active on vacations. I hate just sitting by a pool. Okay, so maybe the mountains. Maybe I'm gonna go hiking. I hear hiking in the Dolomites, right? So I put that on my vision board, and literally within 6 months, I am hiking in the mountains of Italy with this group of women, and it all happened almost like magic. Again, I won't tell the whole story because I feel like I've told it a million times already. But seriously, like when we get really, it doesn't even have to be that specific. Because if you just hold that vision and feeling of joy,
like, what's the essence? Yeah, what is the essence of how I want to feel? And then you can tap into, sometimes it's very specific. And sometimes it's, ooh, I want to feel, and you can use this literally for any area of your life.
Yes. And then you know what? And I think I'm saying this the specificity is good when you're building the board. And that's what I teach when I do my digital vision board workshops once a year, is get specific enough that you can hold a visual image of it. So that's why I wanted to nail down and like what kind of image would represent this more travel thing that would bring me more joy. And that's when I got to that photo. And there, like I said, it just happened to come true. So try that at home if you're still listening out there and you're like, what's fun for me? Think of it broad and then try to just get more focused on what really brings you joy. And then
And it's also okay if you're also feeling, I don't know what brings me fun. This happens every time. Like I speak on fun, we do workshops on fun. And I always have a couple people at least come to me and be like, I get it, but I still don't know what fun is for me. And the good news is, what I have found is that those people are often the most fun humans. They've just along the way, maybe even just judged your definition of fun.
Yeah.
Like we had somebody, I spoke at an event last January and she came to me and I loved it, but I don't know what fun is. I'm not a fun person. And I was like, I gotta call bullshit on this because I've been talking to you and you are fun. And she actually joined our Fun Experience Mastermind. Our cohort just ended. She joined in September. And she's so much fun. Even the first day, she was the poster woman of fun and she was teaching the other women. She just was judging her version of it.
Yeah.
So it could be like, if walking's fun, walk. Or if I had a lady, she didn't know what fun was for her because everybody kept telling her, try this, try that. And she's, I don't resonate with that. But what she loved, and you'll like this, she loved an excellence in experience. So she loved good cheese. She loved great wine.
Yes.
She loved Italy because she loved the experience.
Yes.
That's fun for her. So I'm like, how can you infuse that in your life?
Yeah.
You don't have to go to Italy. How can you, like when we got home, we got the most amazing espresso machine because we're like, how can we infuse this deliciousness in our life? Like it can be that simple.
I love that. Wow. Okay. I think that's a perfect place to end there because there's so many great takeaways. And that last one of just infusing fun into your daily life versus my example was like a little extreme.
Which I'm totally for as well.
But how do you infuse fun into your daily life? And I wholeheartedly agree and do that. Like from my morning coffee, it's an experience to my dinners. Like I'm very high on enjoying every meal, everything I consume. I want it to be intentional, and I do find joy in that. Thank you for that great reminder. Okay. So I always end with just 4 rapid fire questions.
We should have a buzzer. That would be so much more fun.
I'm going to send you one of those red buttons. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. When you were a kid, what was your favorite food?
Pizza.
Yes.
Pizza.
Do you want to say one too?
Mine's Mexican.
Yeah. Tacos, what?
Yes. Tacos.
Okay. Yes. If you could have a drink with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and what would be your drink?
Sarah Blakely. And we'd have some margaritas.
Nice.
In
That sounds
Italy.
actually right up her alley. I don't know why. Mel?
Oh my gosh, there's so many cool people to have a drink with. This is a random person. There's no reason or rhyme. I just think that it'd be fun. Lily Tomlin.
Okay. And your drink? Margaritas?
Oh, I'd have a Negroni.
Oh, I love Negronis. Okay,
I
great.
recently got obsessed with them. Yeah.
I'm there. It's my winter drink. It's my winter
Yeah.
drink. What's your favorite self-help, personal growth book?
Oh man.
I'm gonna go with John DeMartini because
That's my answer too.
he really helped us with a lot of. He's a human behavior specialist. I've done his courses. It's really about the gratitude, like the true, not the surface level gratitude, but really finding the perfection in the situation. He does the gratitude effect.
Great. And last but not least, what's your favorite hype song?
Let's go, girls.
Yeah. Shania
I
Twain.
don't think that's what it's called.
Anything Shania Twain.
Shania Twain. Great for the banging if you're just listening.
You're going to her last show in Vegas. That makes perfect sense. All right, my friends, where can everybody find you and connect with you?
Yeah, easiest way for all of the things is andreaparkercoaching.com. It has all the things that I do, but it also has our FunX business on it as well, which is the mastermind, the curated experiences. If we're looking for socials, Instagram is usually where we hang out. I'm Andrea Parker Speaks, and I am Mel Mills.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. This was so much fun. Everyone out there, my request is subscribe. You know the drill. Subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss another episode. And also, could you write a fun review if you
Let's see how fun this review can get.
Yeah, exactly. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Let's have more fun.